One of the most difficult things about being an artist can be getting into the groove creatively and having motivation to be productive on a regular basis. And one of the things that's helped me the most is having an audience like you to kind of whip me into shape and get me creating on a regular basis. Because me as a content creator, I could create content for myself, but there'd be no motivation to do it consistently. But if I have someone like you who expects me to put out a video, I'm going to feel compelled to want to stick to that so that I don't disappoint my audience and I keep building and growing. And so for those of you who don't have a YouTube channel or don't have a Patreon or don't have a blog, definitely consider doing something like that, because once you have an audience, you have a purpose and you have a reason to create. It'll also encourage you to think of new ideas and new concepts. And so if you're worried about having artist block, the best way to break artist block is to have some sort of audience to make you feel like you need to try to constantly think of ideas, and maybe your audience will even suggest ideas for you, or maybe you'll be able to extract ideas from their comments. Let your fans or your subscribers or your patrons be your motivation to create. But you do want to be careful and avoid overextending yourself. Create production goals that are reasonable. Don't say you're going to put out a video every single day for the rest of your life, because you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to move, you're going to get sick, something will happen and you won't be able to create a video that day or that week or that month. And if you can't keep your promises, then you're not going to be able to keep your audience as well. There are channels out there where people have taken vacations and they've seen their subscriber count drop, or their audience gets really irritated with them because they changed their format of a video or did something. And so there are pros and cons to this concept. You know, it's nice to have people expect videos from you and they'll consume those videos if you put them out. But at the same time, there are a rare few people out there who are really rude about it, and they feel like you owe them something as a content creator. Creators don't owe their audience anything, and their audience doesn't owe them anything. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, and it's completely at will. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Now, if you're going to go the Patreon route, you of course want to make sure that you have an audience first, and so you may want to create a blog or a YouTube or something, and then do Patreon a little bit later. Patreon's kind of the next level of getting into the groove, because on Patreon you can create rewards that people get each month. And so for example, on my Patreon, I'm creating new brushes each month, and I'm creating longer videos each month and early releases and so on. And so that expectation is set and it's there, and I'm motivated and encouraged to create new brushes each month because of that. But just like you don't want to stretch yourself too thin on YouTube, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin on Patreon either. And so if I could go back in time and give myself advice when I very first created my Patreon page, this is what I'd tell myself. First, you want to favor intangible offerings over physical products, such as prints, or labor-intensive rewards, such as commissions or one-on-one lessons, because you're going to find that it's a lot of work to sustain long-term, and it's just too much to juggle. Patreon should really be an extra revenue source, not a full-time job. So don't stretch yourself too thin. And be flexible, and don't be afraid to refine your rewards, because if it's not working, maybe you need to do something else, or maybe you need to adapt it a little bit to make it more sustainable. But it's really up to you to decide what you want to offer as rewards. And there's nothing that says that any of those rewards are set in stone. As long as you're transparent with your audience and you explain why you're changing things, they're going to understand most of the time. So there you go, that's some advice for how to use an audience to get in the groove creatively and be more productive. If you found this information helpful, take a quick second to like this video. And if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I have a lot more digital art videos for artists like you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.